Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that Israel's response to the Palestinian group Hamas will change the Middle East. Israel Ambassador to New Zealand, Oliver-Kerby, joins us this morning from Wellington. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, we're waiting on President Biden, US President Biden, to address America and the world about this conversation. He's just got off the phone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What can we expect they may have spoken about, and what kind of more support could the US provide Israel?
Well, currently, as far as I am aware, the US is mobilizing some forces into our region. Airplanes loaded with ammunition are doing their way, and some have already landed in Israel. We are preparing for war.
Do you imagine that they might be sending people to help with the effort on the ground rather than just providing machinery, for example?
No, especially not at the moment. We are more than capable of defending ourselves. We have been surprised, especially at the brutal aiming on citizens, and we have overcome, and we have understood, I think, that unfortunately we cannot let this beast, terroristic beast, lie at our doorstep.
That element of surprise has been spoken about a lot, and criticism around, the intelligence. Was there intelligence from Israel's side into this happening? Are you able to shed any light on any intelligence that may or may not have been available?
Well, we have been surprised. This is the truth, and one needs to admit the truth in order to grow from there. This is Israel's 9/11, if you would like. We're counting the dead. Currently, we are in around 1,000 people massacred. Massacred because most couldn't defend themselves, because most are civilians. If you compare it to the American 9/11, where more than 5,000 people have been killed. 1,000 in proportion in Israel is like 36,000 Americans. This is our 9/11. And as the Americans were surprised, we are too.
300,000 reservists have been called out to help with this effort. Has anyone been in touch with you in New Zealand, any Israeli Kiwis in New Zealand who might be going to Israel to help?
Yes, I've been in contact with a few calling me, and it's their choice if they go or do not go. I'm not aware of anyone who was summoned by an order. Reservists who were ordered back into Israel for various functions, but there are a few Israeli Kiwis who are interested to go back to Israel and help defend their families. Yes.
Is that something that is a possibility, that there could be an order to get all the Israelis around the world who have gone through that military training to come back to Israel and to help with this war?
Israel is democracy, so it's their choice. There have been so many volunteers that there are not enough flights to bring them over, and our embassies around the world are working to aid all those Israelis wanting to go back to Israel. This is a time in which we are uniting. This is a time in which we have a common goal, and the common goal is to preserve our way of living, our country, and to promise our children and grandchildren after a better future.
There's been lots of discussion about this ground offensive, gearing up for this ground offensive. What could that look like in Gaza? What are the difficulties of an offensive of that kind, knowing that it's a very densely populated area?
Well, we unfortunately have had this experience. We have therefore disengaged from Gaza already years ago, a decade and a half ago. We have pulled the last civilian and soldier out of Gaza, but it seems it is not enough. We will have to prepare. Currently, we are hitting very specific targets, and there is a target list of Hamas headquarters, rocket launchers, etc. We have warned Gaza residents. We have nothing against Gaza residents, of course, and we adhere to the Geneva Convention, and we try not to hit on a civilian population. Still, they have usually a few hours before we attack. They get messages, leaflets, radio announcements, even text to the phones to evacuate, and then we hit. And I suggest any Gaza resident who is not linked with terrorist organizations and knows that they operate around him, and they know rockets are being launched from the neighborhoods, to simply leave, because we are coming. Now,
Mr. Ambassador,
yes.
it's Ryan here. I'm really sorry to interrupt you,
Hey,
but
Ryan.
do you personally support a ground incursion into Gaza?
I would rather see the Hamas leaving Gaza.
Okay. Have you had any contact with the New Zealand government? Have you had any contact with the New Zealand government over the situation in Israel with Hamas? Have they offered any support? Have you asked for any support?
Currently, we don't need any physical support. What we do need is a moral support. We need the understanding of what's going on, the understanding that we are at a turning point. It's a clash of civilizations, if you'd like. Do we want an ISIS-like, Iranian-trained, beastly organization at our doorstep, or do we want to proceed with our plan and quite successful circle of new friends of a new Middle East? We expect New Zealand to designate all of Hamas. You know, birds need two wings to fly, besides the national bird, of course, that doesn't fly. And you can't distinguish between a military wing and a political wing. It has the same aim, the same heads, the same instructions from Iran, and New Zealand needs to join the rest of the like-minded world and designate the whole of Hamas as a terror organization. And this is one of our demands.